that was sort of emailed back and forth between the tutor, the head of school, our business support function, our student support function. This is sort of semi-automated, if you like, because the form's filled in here, and when that is done, the head of school will get an email notification, and they have a page in OnTrack that I'll show you once I put the request through, where they can go in, view the request, and then authorize it. So I'll just fill in some information here. So what we've got here is the drop down, and this information comes from the llwr that we use here in Wales. So these are the reasons for withdrawal. So I'll just choose that one. And then we've got the destination again, which is similar. The withdrawal date, so at the top of the screen there's some information about what's going on. So the last date that they attended with a positive attendance mark was yesterday, so maybe the withdrawal date will be yesterday, or maybe they'll put in something before, but it shouldn't really be before the last attendance date. Then we've got a section for interventions, so if any of these interventions being used to try and keep the learner enrolled in the college, and then they've got an optional comments box. When they send the request, that will trigger a workflow that sends a email notification to the head of school and the deputy head of school to let them know that request has come through. They've also then taken to this page where they can upload any supporting evidence if they need to. That might be, for example, a letter from a parent or any sort of documentation that might help with the request, and then they can move on and do what they need to do next. So the head of school will receive an email, and also as part of it we have a screen that has been built to show the head of school their pending requests. So here we go, there's two here that have been put through. So we've got Mickey Mouse on the second line there, which is the one I just put through. Basically, what the head of school will do is either go to this page and look at the requests, or click on the link in the email. That'll take them straight through to the page where they can see the request, and they can edit some of the fields because maybe they've got some additional information to provide, or the correct option wasn't chosen. And then basically they would authorize it, and they've got an option to add comments, and they've got a link to view the documents. We've got a declined, which might be used if maybe it was put through an error. And then we've got more information required. If they use that, when they update it, it sticks on the screen, so they can go back in to it, if they've gone off to find out some more information before they want to process it. Once they authorize it, basically, for our process here in the college, if it's a full-time FE course, our student support function also need to authorize it. So it's a dual authorization process. It happens simultaneously. And I'll just jump to the student support screen so that we can see the request there. For that, they can go in and see the request. They can see that the head of school has done what they need to do with it. And again, they've got the same options here to authorize it, view the information, etc., and then update it. For the withdrawals, then what happens next in our process is our business support function have got a separate page in OnTrack Hub where they can see the request, and only when it's got the appropriate authorized statuses, so because this is a full-time FE course, it needs the two of them, it shows up on this screen, and in this section here they can go in, view the request. They process it manually in Central, and the reason they process it manually in Central is because they need to check that the withdrawal date that the tutors put in is correct. They might need to look at registers, etc. And then they go through and process it manually in Central, and they will update the learning programme, which is specific to Welsh colleges, to put in the information about the withdrawal reason and destination. So that's why we haven't automated that part of the process, by clicking a button here and it does it, because we need some sort of manual intervention in order to get the right information put against the enrolment and for it to be withdrawn correctly. For non-full-time FE courses, it's exactly the same. It just misses out the student support step. So I wouldn't show you that unless anybody specifically wants me to. I'll show you the transfer, again, which works in a very similar way. So I'll just go into this learner here. Can't remember their name. And I'll go into the enrolments page. There we go, this is Bart Simpson. So again, enrolments, And for this one here, we're going to look at the transfers. So again, they go to the same page, they click the transfer button. What that does, it takes them into a form again. It's got the information here. Sorry, there's no last attendance date because I've just put this on for testing. They'll put in the date that they transfer in, so maybe it was on Monday. And then here is a list of all of our courses. So in this example, I'm going to transfer them from this carpentry course to a hair and beauty course. Again, they've got the option to add in any comments and then they'll send the request. Again, if they have any evidence that they need to upload, they can. If they don't, they can just move on. And then what happens here is the incoming school. So here they've gone from carpentry to hairdressing. So the School of Hairdressing will receive a email to let them know, the deputy head of school and the head of school. They can go in and authorize it. Again, it goes onto the page here. You can see that the pending transfer request is there. They go in and update it and authorize it. They can obviously change the date if they need to and then authorize it, and that works in the same way. Once that's done, then that appears on our business support screen for them to action it, which is that one. There we go. So the transfer request is waiting there. So they'd go in and see the information, process it, and put in the date that they've actioned it and press update. Once that's done, it obviously drops off the previous screen then. And the final one that I wanted to show you was the completion. So when we initially built this, it was to allow them to put in a date they've completed and possibly a comment, and that was the end of it. That would skip out the authorization process and it went direct to our business support team. We've done some work on it recently to allow some more automation of this. So if I just show you, I'll go into this learner, which is Kermit the Frog, I think. And we look at his enrollments. Yeah, there he is. Enrollments. Again, the same thing here, except we've got a complete button. When I click onto that, and this is specific to Welsh colleges, where we've got the learning programme as part of the clue. What they do here, they've got the start date and the end date. If they amend these, will change the enrollment. So if the enrollment is on for a particular date, but maybe they've enrolled them on the wrong date, they can actually change that here and it'll end up correcting the enrollment as part of an overnight process that we've got happening. So for a course like this, First Aid at Work is possibly a one-day course, so the start and end date will possibly be the same, but they can change it using the calendar there, and then they put in the date on the certificate as well. So that'll probably be, around about the same date. When they press continue, then that writes back to the custom log, and we have written a procedure that will run overnight and will push all of the data it needs to from the last page that you just saw into the right places, and it will complete the enrollment automatically. So that is a way that they put the information in. There's nobody else involved, and it just happens automatically overnight. So they are the three different ones we've got: the withdrawal, the transfer, and the completion. I showed you we had the head of school screen and the student support screen and the business support screen. We've also got a all requests screen that the head of school can see all of the requests for their schools. Obviously, I've just condensed it down so you don't see all of our learners' information. So they've got this, they can see the requests here. Up until the point that it's been actioned by business support, they can go in and edit it. So they might want to add some additional commentary or change something in it. They can do that. And then the last screen that I've got to show you is the My withdrawal, transfer, completion request. So me as the logged in user, I can see all of my requests and what's happening with them. So I can see it's been authorized, it hasn't been actioned by business support yet, and they can see exactly where it is in the process, and they can obviously expand that down to see the additional information, any of the comments that have been added in there. And at the top then we've got a link to our SharePoint where we've got the training materials that shows them how to use the system if they're not 100% sure. One thing that I wanted to mention that we are looking at doing in the future that we haven't quite got at yet, when we look at the transfer part of the system, we're going to look at a way of, if a learner's transferred into a course that has groups, we want to drop down to appear so it can so that the tutor, the person processing the request can tell business support what group to group the learner into, and then obviously that can be actioned as part of it rather than us needing to reach out to them separately. So that's a sort of future goal for us, but that's where we're at with it at the moment. Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that. That's very, very good. Very comprehensive. Well, hand up already, and I think we've got a few questions as well. Right, who was first?
We've got Brian and Alex. Got hands up.
Alex, do you want to go first?
No, Brian had his hand up first.
Okay, all right. Brian, do you want to go?
Just a quickie. Have you attempted or thought about using this system for class changes within the same subject as opposed to complete subject changes, or how do you handle that in comparison to the full subject transfers?
So if they move in between like a different group, is it?
Yeah.
We haven't looked at that as part of this. We've looked at that as part of something different, but there's no web service that will allow us to do what we need to do. It will allow us to delete the group that they're in, and then they can regroup them, but it doesn't allow you to transfer between groups. It would delete what's already happened. We have investigated that, but not as part of this, as a separate thing. But it doesn't seem to be anything available to us currently.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just on that last bit, it doesn't off the top of my head, but we do allow our A-level staff in a certain window to change their students' groups. So students enrolled on A-level physics, and the A-level staff through OnTrack can change them from Group A to Group B to Group C themselves. And we stay out of it. I can't remember which exactly web service it is, but for us it works quite well, and it takes them off Group A and puts them onto Group B.
All right, okay.
So I think it's just in the update. People, I can have a check and post later, but that bit of it we have done, but that's not actually anything to do with what my question was. Which was it was actually about parent-child and exams. Do you have any situations, or because we've thought about doing this and we've got to the point where we generate the paperwork automatically, and then staffs can say, right, well, we're drawing them off A levels, and they've got 5 different A levels, but you know what? They're going to be completing the GCSE that they're on, because we're now at this point in the year. Why the hell not? They're not going to go through to next year to do the full A level, so we're going to withdraw them, but we do want them to stay on GCSE maths resit that they're on, for instance. How does it handle anything like that, or how would you handle that? Would they have to go in and do each one individually?
The way we've got our curriculum structured, the A levels sit under one parent program, and the GCSE resits in another separate parent program. So that wouldn't cause a problem here. If they were withdrawing off, say, I don't know, 1 or 2 of the A levels, they would just do them at the child level, line by line. Then, if you like, I just showed the parent because that's what normally happens. It's normally the whole program, but they can do the child levels. But yeah, we wouldn't have the problem with the GCSEs because it does sit under the separate parent the way we've got it here.
Fine. No, thank you. Yeah, looks really good.
Thank you.
Hi, Colin.
Hiya, Luke. Thanks for sharing that. So we have sort of dabbled our toe into something similar and have found that the software works quite nicely in allowing that to happen. One of the challenges is clashes. So if you transfer from one course to another and the timetable clashes, how do you guys resolve that?
So when the transfer request is put in, it goes from whatever course they're on to the new course and the new school. Obviously, they would have to look physically to see if it's possible first, and when they've done their checks, then they would authorize it, and then again, before it's actioned, our business support team would sort of check, if there was any sort of issues, and they would deal with them outside of this, if you like. This is just a notification of what they want to happen. It doesn't sort of look at if there's going to be any issues. Really, a person needs to do that.
Okay, so yeah, there's at the moment not a neat systematic way that we can identify the clashes and then choose Group A won't clash, but Group B would clash, for example.
It's not
Has
that,
anyone
so.
else on the call managed to work out a quick and easy on-track timetable clash resolution solution?
Ish. We've got a blocking timetable, so A block, B block, C block spread throughout the week because we're mostly focused on A levels, and we simply list out which blocks each group is running in and rely on the staff to do a visual check. It's not quite as universal as having a full timetable, and if you're not using block matrix or blocking grid, it doesn't work, but it has drastically reduced the amount of clashes we get, or incompatible clashes we get, at the September enrollment. It's not systematic, it is manual, but it was better than nothing for us.
Sure. Is anyone else doing anything different? I see, Alex, you've got your hand up because you guys have solved it, have you?
Similar to Brian, we are using the block matrix. So for our A-level provision, we are using the block matrix, and we do that. But we also have chucked in the timetable visually on screen as well. So it lists out the three enrollments that they're the A-levels that they're on, and whether it's in A block, B block, C block, D block, but then it'll also using the timetable charting stuff. I'm not sure if that's still only in OnTrack Learner Hub or whether that's made it over into the default tribal staff pages, but that works quite well. So it shows them their timetable. Then in our processes, we would want them to print it out also, but for us that works. For the A-level changes from group 1, group 2, group 3 that staff are doing, for us that works very well. But it's very similar to Brian, and if you are doing that, I suppose we could add in that it was limiting it to only allow if block A's already been selected, then you can't pick block A in another subject, have to move it to another one. But we haven't done that bit.
Yeah, so we've got block matrix for our A-level, one of our biggest A-level piece, but we've got lots and lots of other activity going on that can't be block matrixed, and of course you can only use one block matrix per system. So one of the challenges is it can't check the timetable attached to the enrollment until the learner's actually been enrolled. So you can't check something that's not quite happened yet, and that's one of the challenges. And then ideally you would be able to then pick a group 1 clashes, group 2 doesn't clash, so the student needs to go into group 2. So it's almost that sort of being able to visualize that, and the person processing the transfer being able to resolve that before it gets to write any data back. So it's the logistics around that have stopped us more than the system, because we followed not exactly the same as yours, Luke, but very similar, kind of taking and systemizing the form filling exercises, that they get the data right, that they don't put in incorrect attendance dates and all that kind of thing. So that's a good shout, and well done. It looks nice and neat. Thank you.
Yes.
Lisa, I see your hands up, and I suspect you've got some answers for how it's done at PTC.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to sort of add to what Luke was saying, some of the things you're raising here are the reasons why we still have the human intervention at the end. Because, for example, if the tutor goes in and requests 2 withdrawals for A-level subjects, that learner will drop to a part-time programme. So we need to check that, because the parent needs to be updated, the funding stream needs to be updated. We need to check as what they intended to do. Have they anticipated the implications of that? So there's a lot of things around it where we want a human being to look at it. Because I think one of the things that we've found out, we've done a lot of work in OnTrack Hub, automating things and improving our systems and processes, but you can't catch everything. So you want somebody to go in and check the timetable. You want somebody to go in and group the learner manually to make sure the groups are correct for the learner. You want to make sure that once the withdrawal has been processed, the learner, for example, hasn't lost so many hours, they're not going to be a full-time learner anymore. These are the things that you want a human being to check. But having it done this way, the key thing that does for us is it streamlines all the rest of the process so that the team can concentrate on that human intervention that is required and not worry about the sending the forms back to heads and you haven't filled this bit in, you didn't date it, you haven't signed it. Has this person not? All of that is taken care of. When it lands with us, we just go in, right, let me check the timetable, let me check what you want to do with it. And we just, process it then. So that's where we're coming from. I mean, and we do tend to, everything we build tends to always have a human in the final step. To just say, is there anything unintended about what we're about to do to this learner? So that's the sort of way we look at it at the moment. And maybe in future, we'll move away from that. But right now, this is where we're comfortable, I think.
Good.
Excellent, thank you. And Brian, your hand's up.
Yeah, just from the demo, it seemed to focus on course by course withdrawals. Do you use a different process or the same process if it's a college completion withdrawal as opposed to a single course? Or do you go through every course and flag them up the same?
Well, if this is the system is aimed for the learners doing something which is not what was planned. So that's the decision for this process. So basically, if the learner enrolls in a course that starts on the 2nd of September this year and follows the whole course to the end of the year, we auto-complete them at the end of the year. But if anything is going to be different to that, so they don't get to the end of the year, then this is the system the staff use to tell us if something's different. So that's the way we sort of manage that. So if for a course, we have a definition of what that course, how that course works and what will happen for that course. And this is just for the exceptions, of which there are a lot, but it's for the exceptions.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I will stop the recording.